and welcome to the ISBM webinar here in June. I hope that the weather is great for everyone wherever you are. Our webinar today is AI Within Reach, Demystifying Artificial Intelligence and Making It Work for You. We're very, very excited to be able to have our partner Demandbase presenting this. So here's a picture here of Jessica. She'll be talking to you today. Jessica is the VP of ABM Strategy, that's account-based marketing. And I think for all of us in B2B, this is an important topic for us. So I look forward to a great presentation, and she's got plenty of time available to take questions. So I hope you'll avail yourself of that. And over on the right is me, Lynn Yanyo. I'm the Executive Director of ISBM. And again, glad to have you all join us. Just as a background, if you haven't joined us before and used the On24 technology, we want to tell you how you can interact with this webinar. So down at the bottom, you'll see that there are selections that you can make that allow you to type to us. So if you'll choose the one that allows you to ask questions down there at the bottom, and then please just type your questions. You can type them in at any time. You can even start now. And I will field those to Jessica as they fit. So if it looks like it fits into the conversation, I'll make sure she gets that ahead of time. And if not, we'll hold it to the end. But you can type them whenever you think of them. So feel free to do that, and we hope you will. And there's always the question of, will I get a copy of this? And the answer is always yes. So you will get a copy of the PowerPoint deck that was used in a response if you signed up for this event. If you didn't sign up for it and you're using someone else's sign up, then you might want to sign up so you can get those things directly. If you're an ISBM member, you can access the recording for this forever in isbm.org and under B2B Pulse. And if you're not a member, we hope you'll consider joining, but you can also access the recording for 30 days. So we hope that you'll do that and you'll share, and we appreciate, again, everyone that joins us. Let me tell you just a little bit while we get everybody ready. Let's tell you a little bit about ISBM. So ISBM was founded about 35 years ago at Penn State. We are the only organization that is dedicated to doing research in B2B markets. It's an interesting piece of data, but B2B is about 65% of the global economy. And yet we know that only a fraction of the research being done in business that have business studies are doing work in B2B. So most of it is B2C. So we focus on that. We encourage that. We support research in those areas. We have a team at ISBM, and here's just some pictures of us. So I'm your executive director. We have Rand Mendez, who is helping us with member services. Gary Lillian helps direct all of our research funding and making sure that research is done and then disseminated back to us. Becky Williams has recently joined us, and she is now with us to help us with our education programs. And Ralph Oliva, you might remember from a long time ago, is emeritus with us and still helping us connect with our membership. Feel free to reach out to any of us. We have a wealth of folks from all over the world who help us with B2B research, and we name some of our researchers fellows and help them connect with our member companies. So this is just a sampling of where our ISBM fellows are located, and a few of them are pictured there. And we have about 40 member companies, practitioner companies, that meet with each other in our member meetings and our events. And we also provide them with the latest in research. We do that through a variety of events, and so I'm just going to do a little quick pitch for the members meeting. Excuse me, I'm going to cough one more time. Our members meeting is this August, and it is a really interesting one in that we've designed it to be concurrent with the research meeting. So every 2 years there's a B2B researchers meeting, and we'll be meeting at the same time with them. And if you'd like, you can hop over to some of their presentations and they may join us. And during breaks, we'll be joining them together. We have jam sessions that are regularly scheduled. We have upcoming courses that we encourage you to look for. And then the webinar series is listed there, and you're in one of them right now. Feel free to go to our isbm.org/events site, and you can see all these things. And please do remember to sign up for the members meeting. Okay, I'm going to get ready to turn this over to Jessica. Again, I think a great topic. I encourage you to participate by asking questions. And Jessica, let me turn it over to you right now.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for hosting me on today's webinar. Really excited to speak with you all today. So, as mentioned, I am the VP of ABM Strategy, Field and Channel Marketing at Demandbase. I've been there for about 5 years, and in the life of a startup, that's, you know, a really long time. It's kind of like if you think about it in dog years, you know, you've been somewhere a very long time, and that's how I have ended up with the Frankenstein title that I have. Because as our marketing team grew from just 8 people to now north of 25, you know, a lot of things have happened, and, you know, account-based marketing as a field itself has really, really evolved over the course of the time that I have been at Demandbase. When we started back in, you know, when I was there early 2013, you know, talking about account-based marketing, you know, for the most part, people were like, account-based what? Like, the words make sense, but what really is it? Some folks, like the ITSMA, had already been talking about account-based marketing, but they were talking about it in kind of the one-to-one context, or target account marketing, or strategic account marketing. But we were coming at the marketplace from kind of a different angle of saying, hey, actually, it's not just for your biggest and best clients. Yes, you can do account-based marketing for those, but, you know, you should really think about account-based marketing for kind of your overall demand gen and really your overall revenue marketing strategy. And so, you know, as such, you know, kind of over the course of the last 5 years, I and my team have developed probably north of 50 hours worth of content around account-based marketing, and not just what is it and why you should do it, but rather how do you go about doing it? What are best practices? You know, what have we kind of gleaned out in the field? I spend a good 40 to 50% of my time on the road talking to customers and prospects of ours. And so it's really interesting, you know, all the content that we've built is not just on our own experience or thought leadership, but rather what have we seen actually work for B2B marketers everywhere. And so, so that's kind of what we bring to the topic of account-based marketing. Now, from a company perspective, we have kind of gone headlong into artificial intelligence over the course of the last year to 18 months or so, seeing it as kind of our best way to be the best account-based marketing focused marketers we can, and to really be able to do it at scale, to really be able to get to that point with account-based marketing where you can really personalize, but you can do it at scale to those accounts that are most likely to buy from you. So that's a little bit kind of high level on what Demandbase offers, but, you know, kind of at today's conclusion, if anybody wants to hear more about Demandbase, I'm happy to talk about that. But I'm not here to talk about Demandbase today. I'm really here to talk about artificial intelligence and how it works in an account-based marketing world. So with that, I'm going to dive in. So my first slide here is really just to kind of talk a little bit about kind of where we have always wanted to get to as account-based marketers, which is really getting that high-touch, kind of one-to-one marketing has always been the goal of B2B marketers. B2C has gotten there in a number of different ways, and I like that you brought up B2C because, you know, back when this book by Peppers and Rogers was written, I was just a lowly old freshman in college. But yes, B2B was never talked about. Pretty much what I learned, you know, I got a major in marketing, and pretty much what I learned were all B2C concepts and tactics and those sorts of things. So kind of wrapping your head around B2B has always been a challenge, and largely as marketers, we've just tried to make B2C constructs work for B2B, right? And so account-based marketing is the first time we're really taking kind of our own methodology, our own principles, and our own technology to really be effective marketers. And so back to this book by Peppers and Rogers, but, you know, what they were talking about in this book back in 1993 was around how do you kind of get that familiarity with your clients, but be able to do it at scale. You know, one of the examples in their book was a little bit of how do you, you know, get that familiarity of when you would go into your corner store, you know, the person at the counter knew you liked brown eggs versus white eggs, right? That kind of thing, which you can do in a small mom and pop shop in a small town, but really hard to do as a B2B marketer. But Peppers and Rogers were talking even back in 1993 that, hey, technology is going to help us get there. Technology is going to help us build that relationship and be able to personalize our message to all those companies that we want to talk to. The problem is, we brought a lot of technology to the table, but once again, a lot of them were B2C types of technologies that we were trying to make work for B2B. And really what happened was that we replaced that personalization, that relevance, that relationship building with volume. And so we got complacent with, 0.1% click-through rates on our advertising and, a less than, 4% open rates on our emails going out through marketing automation. And so, those sorts of things. So what we were kind of forced to do was really think about, okay, how can we just do more volume in the hopes that these kind of low conversion rates will actually amount to business for us in the end. I talk a little bit about kind of on this lead gen point here, the series decisions model. Now they have since revised it kind of in the last 12 months or so, but the series decisions model that we've all kind of looked at for the last decade or so was this really big funnel where we as B2B marketers were encouraged to put as much as we could in the top of that funnel in the hope that 0.3% would actually flow through to close one business. And, I don't know about everybody on the phone here, but for me, that's kind of a depressing stat as a B2B marketer that, great, I can only hope that 0.3% of my efforts actually matter to the bottom line of the company, right? So, but the good news is there's a better way, right? And this is where account-based marketing was born from. So it's, we have a client of ours that likes to refer to it as, instead of kind of the serious decision funnel, she talks about it, the traditional demand gen model was kind of shaped like a margarita glass, where it was really wide at the top and then narrowed very quickly to a really tight funnel that, like we were talking about, just a little bit would actually flow through to close one business. But she says what ABM is it's actually shaped more like a champagne flute, right? It's a narrower top of the glass. So you're putting less things in the top of the glass, but they're a higher quality. You're really taking a good look at who are all the companies out there, but which of those companies are a good fit for our company and which one of those are actually in market to buy for us. And then you go to market to those organizations. It's a smaller set of organizations. You can really understand those organizations, what it is that makes them tick, what their biggest business challenges are, and tailor your message to fit their pain points, right? So that's kind of the genesis of where account-based marketing has come from. But, that was really easy to do when you were talking about, maybe a handful of accounts, for, the one-to-one or strategic account marketing form of ABM really was kind of, was a strategy that really could only be deployed by the largest companies because they were the only ones that could actually dedicate budget and headcount to focus on just one account. And now that makes sense when it's an account that's going to be bringing in tens of millions of dollars to a company. Dedicating those types of resources makes a lot of sense. But if you're a small startup, it's a little bit trickier to be able to do that. You don't have the headcount to be able to dedicate one marketer to really dig in, do a ton of research on the company, on the industry that the company's in, really partner with the sales rep on that account and build a bespoke marketing plan just for that account. Very effective strategy, but not scalable, right? And so, as I mentioned at the onset, when demand-based came onto the scene, it was like, let's see if we can take, 75% of what you can do in the one-to-one and actually translate it out to a broader target account list, a target account list that's going to help you hit your overall revenue goal for the year. And so, it's a new way of looking at and thinking about your demand gen strategy, but also your overall revenue marketing strategy, because account-based marketing doesn't just end at the generation of a pipeline opportunity, but rather you continue to look at those accounts all the way through to close one business. And now this is definitely a substantive shift for us as B2B marketers, because it was kind of this thought of, well, we'll get the lead, we'll hand it off to sales, and then the rest of it is their responsibility. They're going to take it from there. There's nothing we can do as marketers to help, kind of get it to close. That's all in the hands of the sales rep. But in an ABM world, like I said, when you're just focused on a small set of accounts, or, a limited set of accounts, really you should be following those counts all the way through, because so much of the buyer's journey happens digitally and online. And so even though your sales rep might say, hey, don't worry about it, I've got this account, right? They really only are probably talking to one or two people inside of that account. But as we know as B2B marketers, the buying committee is much broader than that. It's typically 6, 8, 12 people, depending on the size of the organization. And you know where those people are getting their information? They're getting it online. So marketing and sales need to be in lockstep to make sure that marketing is marketing to that account in the same way that sales is talking to them. And so technology is out there to help you be able to do that. And in particular, artificial intelligence is kind of the latest technology, and it's kind of an overlay technology to all the technologies that are already out there. And really what it allows you to do to scale the human effort of what your marketing team can do, but also give you access to some information that isn't humanly available, right? One thing, for instance, is it's pretty much impossible for us to be able to figure out manually whether or not one of our target accounts is looking at a competitor's of ours website, but artificial intelligence can help you do that. So there's going to be a lot of data insights that artificial intelligence can provide that we just don't have access to on a manual basis as marketers. So ABM and AI were kind of the two biggest buzzwords of 2017 rolling into 2018. But you know what I would say is that they're beyond buzzword stage, right? So account-based marketing has been out there. You know, we alone at Demandbase have certified over 2,000 marketers in account-based marketing. I know the ITSMA has also certified, you know, well over 1,000 B2B marketers and kind of the one-to-one ABM. So there's a lot of marketers out there thinking about it and actually practicing account-based marketing. And, you know, in other slide decks that I've given in the past, you know, we really talk about, you know, in surveys that we've given over the kind of the last 3 years, more and more people see ABM as critical to their success. And more of them that have already started to embark on ABM strategies are seeing that success. And so I would say that ABM is no longer a buzzword, but it's really just the way that smart B2B marketers are going to market. And quite honestly, I do feel a little bit like in 5 years, it's not really going to be a term anymore. It's just going to be called revenue marketing and the way revenue marketing is done. The next thing then is obviously AI and layering on the AI and artificial intelligence to your ABM strategies to help you scale and to help you be smarter about your tactics and your approach to it. And what it allows us to do when you combine these two things is provide intimacy or personalization at scale, right? To really get into the minds, quote unquote, of the accounts that you're going after, the individuals within those accounts, and then leverage your marketing mix that you put together through account-based marketing to really get to them and in a personalized and relevant fashion that's going to help them move through the buyer's journey faster. And so what's really interesting and really important about AI and really important about all the marketing technology that you take a look at is while data is interesting, right, data without insights is just noise, right? We've been talking for probably 6 to 10 years now about being data-driven marketers. And while, once again, data is great, unless you can draw out insights that are then actionable and that you can put into action in your marketing plan, you know, it's not particularly useful, right? And it can actually cause confusion in what should you be doing, right? You know, there's this big debate now on attribution technologies, right? Should you have them? Shouldn't you have them? What kind of information does it give you? And at the end of the day, most of the attribution software out there right now just gives you data. It really doesn't give you actionable insights. So that's where AI, you know, layered on top of that actually does provide those insights. And it allows you to do things like identify your accounts that you should be going after. Once again, you know, you can know some things about accounts, and you know, if you're focused on only 6 accounts, you can dig in and know a lot. But if your target account list, let's say, is 1,000 or 2,000 accounts, it's really hard to know, you know, are they in market right now? Do they have budget? How big is the stakeholder committee? All those sorts of things. But actually, AI can actually, you know, get out there in the internet and figure some of those things out for you to really help you understand who should be on your target account list and kind of how to prioritize those accounts. It allows you to get especially focused with your advertising, right? Really, once again, understanding what are their biggest business challenges and making sure that your message is speaking to those challenges so that you are sure to get their attention, right? And then not only, getting their attention through an ad, but when they come to your website, making sure the same message is there to really help reinforce that message so that, there's nothing worse than the user experience of you see it in, something advertised in an ad, but say you don't click on it, right? As most of us don't. But then you type direct in to go to that company's website and you don't see the offer that was in the ad, right? And then you're like, great, where do I find that ad again? And, now you've lost that customer. But with AI, you can help make sure that message is consistent throughout all of your channels to really optimize the buyer's journey. You can kind of disrupt the buyer's journey, actually. So instead of allowing the account or the individuals within those accounts to kind of make their own path and click randomly on your website to find things, if you know enough about that account, you can actually deliver up all the information they need right on the home page to help kind of short circuit and streamline that buyer's journey. And then last but not least is the all-important sales development team. For most of us, this is kind of the lifeblood between marketing and sales, is making sure that this team is as equipped as possible to get meetings and to turn all of those marketing campaigns and all those leads and inquiries you get from those marketing campaigns into actual meetings and opportunities for your sales team. And AI can help you deliver those insights to that team to make them far more effective and efficient. All right, so now I'm going to actually go through 3 really quick examples of how AI technology can come to bear within your ABM strategy. And the first is going to be around that account identification. So, when we start to think about, your target account list, you got to think about what makes for a good account. The one thing, and this kind of gets to that B2C nomenclature that's not really relevant for B2B, is the concept of the total addressable market, right? We all learned it in school. If you were a marketing major, you heard about the total addressable market. Most CMOs still talk about the total addressable market, or more likely your CEO talks about that. But the total addressable market is actually irrelevant, right? Just because a company wants to buy from you doesn't mean you want to sell to them, right? So there's going to be certain characteristics that make for a bad kind of fit. And you're going to know these things. Just, you're going to know that there's a certain revenue threshold that you're not going to be able to sell below. Just because if they don't make enough money, they can't afford what you have to sell them, right? Or you're only selling in North America, you're not selling in the rest of the world, or vice versa. Or you focus on specific industries. So really understanding that basic criteria up front is going to help narrow that down from a total addressable market to kind of a target market for you. But that target market is still probably going to be too big, because one of the points of account-based marketing is focus. And, if you say, well, okay, so I've eliminated all the accounts that we don't want to sell to, but I still have a target account list of 20,000 accounts, that's not really doing account-based marketing. That's still way too broad for your marketing team and its budget to address appropriately, and too big for your sales team to focus on, right? Yes, you could have 20,000 accounts that you're marketing to, but your sales team can't do a concerted effort of outbound outreach to 20,000 accounts. So you need to narrow that down a little further. And so you're going to kind of get to that place of where there's fit, right? Taking that basic criteria, or that ideal customer profile, as some people refer to it, and figuring out kind of where is there a good fit, right? If your sales rep is talking to an account and you might say they meet all of our criteria, we want to sell to them, but your sales rep talks to them and says, yep, we just signed a 2-year contract with your competitor. Well, now that's not a good fit for right now, right? In 2 years down the line, or maybe 18 months, right, because you want to get ahead of the next buying cycle, it'll be a good fit. But right now it's not a good fit, right? So that further starts to narrow that target market to where you're going to be able to get to your target account list. And the third criteria comes in here, which is timely intent, right? And it kind of gets to that prior example, but do they meet all of the elements of our ideal customer profile? Is there fit right now? And their timely intent. Are they in market? Are they searching on terms that your company, can sell to? Are they, are they in market? Are they talking about things on social media, right? Are they posing questions on LinkedIn to their audience that, are a relevant fit to what you have to sell? And do they have budget, right? That's always important. Do they have budget to actually buy what it is you have to sell them? So understanding all of those things and putting them all together is critical for building out your target account list. And what it can also do is it can take a look at, okay, based on those three criteria, where are these accounts in this buying cycle? Is there intent out there? Once again, as I mentioned kind of on one of my earlier slides was, we know certain things that show up in our CRM, right? We know that they downloaded a white paper, they attended a webinar, they visited our booth at a trade show, but that's not only the first-party data that's knowable to us. AI can help you understand third-party types of elements that, we just physically can't know, like is our account, is this account searching on our competitors' websites? Are all the stakeholders at this account, what are their search terms like? What are the search terms coming out of that account that might be relevant to our market, right? These are the sorts of things that AI can help us uncover to understand that timely intent. So how that actually gets put into practice is first, the marketer puts together their ideal customer profile, understanding who is it that they want to sell to. And, some of this is going to look like, basic criteria of your existing accounts. And also those that you might want to expand to. You don't want to limit it to just the lookalike model of your existing clients because you're going to run out of an addressable market sooner rather than later. What's the next market that you want to move into, be it a region or an industry or something like that? But putting all of that into your AI-based tool then is going to help you start to score accounts, right? Because a lot of people will say, well, we want to sell to the Fortune 500. Well, that's interesting, and that's great, but once you are able to put them into an AI-based engine, what it'll tell you is that's great, but, numbers 1 and 3 on your list actually aren't a good fit for you right now for a variety of different reasons, right? They just might not be in market right now, or, they just signed a contract, or there's just no buzz coming from that company. So it's probably not a good time to go after them. But company number 2, on the other hand, is kind of showing all the signs. So that's where you want to spend and focus your time, money, and attention is company number 2, not company number 1 or 3. And then what it'll do is it'll create for you an entire target account list that's ranked by kind of their levels of intent. So, if you come to the conclusion that, given the size of your sales force and the size of your marketing team and your marketing budget, you can really only focus on 500 accounts or 150 accounts, this type of a tool will help you prioritize and figure out which are the 150 most likely to buy from you. And the nice part, too, is that it's not just, the AI engine runs once and you have a list and you're off to the races, but rather it's constantly looking for those signals. So over time, it might surface that company number 3 there actually is starting to show intent signals. And so now you can move them onto your list and start putting them into your marketing programs to move them into pipeline and hopefully to close won revenue. So that's a little bit on account identification, but obviously once you've identified those accounts, you want to get them through, to a meeting, to pipeline, and to close won business as quickly as possible. And so, one of those places that we spend a lot of time and energy on is our website, right? Knowing that pretty much every account, well, definitely every account that's going to buy from you is going to visit your website at some point throughout the buyer's journey, right? And so, this is just a fictitious website that we mocked up here, and just to kind of show how a lot of companies do it today. So you've got a nice website, and it's the same website for everybody who comes and visits. And, I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but I worked at a company previously where we had, the hero banner, and it was a carousel, and there were 10 different slides in that carousel. And, every quarter there would be this big, kind of fist fight over a conference room table over whose image was going to go first, second, third, fourth, all the way through 10th in the carousel. And quite honestly, it was kind of a moot point after maybe slide 3, because nobody stays at the top of your website that long to see all those different carousels, right? And so you kind of create a basic website that's not great for anybody, but kind of sort of works for everybody, right? And then what we also do is have these really complicated and long menus that try to surface up everything that's on our website so that people have access to see everything that you can possibly offer them, right? But a lot of people's eyes are going to start to glaze over when they see a list of solutions this long, right? It's too hard to find it, and you're relying on them really being pretty diligent in clicking through all of your menu tabs to see what might be relevant to them. And so, what happens is, you have this buyer's journey that looks akin to the path of a bumblebee, right? It's like, they come onto your website and they go look at something, and then they kind of get to a dead end and they go away from your website. And then somebody else from that organization comes in and looks at something else. And it's really hard to kind of identify, quote unquote, where they are on the buyer's journey, right? Because there's all sorts of different signals coming in and going, and you're like, no, they're middle of funnel, and then somebody else comes in on top of funnel. It's really hard to understand all of that and, make sure you're continuing to get them the most relevant information when they need it. And so if you try to really anticipate that buyer's journey, you're going to get it wrong, right? We just don't have enough insights within our grasp to really understand it. So you're going to get it wrong. And this is where AI can kind of come in to help. So going back to this basic website, right? The way our CEO likes to talk about it is, hey, you know enough about these companies. There's tools out there to help you do this. Make it a zero-click website. Make sure that when they come to their website, you're serving up exactly what they need from you, not hoping that they go find it, right? So, for instance, if somebody from the financial services industry comes to your website, instead of hoping that they click on customers and find the financial services case study that's buried 4 clicks deep, why not serve it up to them on the homepage, right? They're in the financial services industry. That they're going to want to see a case study. So make sure it's front and center for them so that they don't have to go digging for it. And so, AI can actually help you do that if you once again put into your AI-based engine, hey, here's some goal pages that I want this segment of accounts to get to, say financial services. What the AI engine will do is figure out the shortest path to get financial services institutions to that goal path. And so what it'll do is it'll give recommended content that will help guide them there. So once again, instead of hoping they find their own path and kind of continue on that bumblebee path, right? Here it's just like, hey, here's the information we know you need. We're going to serve it right up to you, right? And AI can help you do that. It's really hard for us to guess, but the AI machine learning will actually learn over time what is the shortest path and then serve that up to those prospects. And what it allows us to do is actually straighten out that buyer's journey a little bit and kind of disrupt it, right? So, and really help them get from, kind of that research phase all the way through to close one business in a quicker manner by making sure that you're relevant and you're providing the content that's going to help them solve their challenges, which is going to make them want to talk to your organization and to your sales team. So the third and last example I have is around account-based sales development. So for most organizations, we all have an inside sales team. Some call them SDRs, some call them MDRs, BDRs. There's lots of different names, but they're all basically the inside sales team, which, like I said, tends to be that connection point between marketing and the outside sales team. And so, the old model of SDRs was a high focus on volume, automated dialers. So they'd hang up the phone from one call and automatically their phone would ring again. And so they'd pick up the phone and they'd be like, hi, I'm Joe from XYZ company, and we have a thing to sell you. Would you like a meeting? Right? That was really all they had time for. And it was based on that, kind of going back to the earlier conversation around that really wide serious decisions funnel, get as much as you can on the top of it in the hopes that enough flows through to satisfy your revenue goals for the year. Right? And so they were just, focused on how much can they actually do within an hour. Now, the new model with account-based marketing is much more focused on quality, right? Instead of these automated dialers and just, hoping for the best, now they have a focused set of accounts that they need to do research on, and so that when they pick up the phone, they can be much more educated about that business. When they send an email, it's far more personalized. It's speaking the language of that client and those sorts of things, and they're going to have a much higher conversion rate at that point, right? So it's a much more of a quality play and probably a much more interesting role for an SDR, quite honestly, than the old school kind of smile and dial approach. But they have a number of challenges, right? Is getting to those people, because there's a lot of noise out there, like I talked early on, with all the new technologies that have come on board, right? It's created a lot of noise out there in the marketplace. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more than a few people on this call today who actually, first thing you do when you get in the morning is you delete all the emails that are in your inbox that came in, between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. before you got into the office. Because those are likely all just marketing emails or pings from SDRs or that kind of thing. And so you just want to get those out of your inbox so you can get to the meat, get to the stuff that you actually need to get to. And I mean, how many of us answer a phone call now that comes from a phone number we don't recognize, right? So connecting is really challenging. So you have to have ways and you have to have messaging that's going to be relevant, that's going to be eye-catching to cut through all that noise. And so, for these inside sales teams, they're moving to an account-based sales development model, which allows them the time to really dig in, understand the accounts that they're going after to try and cut through that noise. And so, but what it requires is puts a lot of work on the heads of these inside sales teams, right? They have to do a lot of research about the account. Then they need to get to the buying committee. Who are all the people that might be involved in this purchase decision? Potentially who is that person who's going to sign on the dotted line? But as I said earlier, there's a large stakeholder committee around that individual or those two individuals, and you want to get to all of them with your company's message. And so it's not only enough to find out who they are, but then about them and get their contact details and what are they blogging about? What are they tweeting about? There's a lot of information that they have to go gather in order to then create a relevant message that they can then, use to try and get into that account. And that's putting a lot on this inside sales team because largely they're young. They're probably, it's probably first, second job out of college, right? They're just getting their feet wet in the business world. So to put all that on them is asking a lot. And so they are inexperienced. It's kind of a mercenary role, right? They get hung up on a lot. They, they send out, 20 emails and don't get a single response, right? It's a really tough role. And, we like to joke a little bit at Demandbase or even with some of the clients that I go out and see is, largely your SDR team is a bunch of 25-year-old, 24, 25-year-old guys and gals. And, come Friday morning, they're probably coming in hungover. So, to try and ask them to do all those things that I had on the previous slide is really asking a lot. And so this is where marketing needs to help deliver a lot of these insights right to their inbox. So they can come in the morning, they have all this data, all these insights, and they can put it into action. They can start crafting their emails, they can start crafting their voicemails that they're going to leave and so on. And so, we need to help them prioritize their day, not hoping that, well, okay, here's the 150 accounts that are on my target account list. Who am I going to call in today? But rather, they have a prioritized list for marketing that says, hey, start here. These accounts are shown, have engaged with a lot of our content on our website. They're all over our website. We've got, 5 or 6 unique visitors coming to our website, and then the AI-based intelligence around what else are they doing on the internet and helping to provide those insights that they can use to craft their emails, right? Being able to provide all of that to them is really going to help kind of bolster that team and really make it a high functioning team that's really going to get a lot of meetings. And so, like I said, marketing really needs to be providing this, and AI can really help do that. So key takeaways for today, AI can really help you optimize and scale your ABM strategy. Like I said, doing the one-to-one kind of ABM, if you can dedicate one marketer to 1 or 2 accounts, that is excellent, and you should absolutely do that. But when you're trying to get to your broader demand gen strategy or revenue marketing strategy, which is going to incorporate, potentially thousands of accounts, you're going to need AI to help you do that. And so, it's going to automate a lot of processes. It's going to turn those, not just data, but insights and make them actionable for you. And it's really going to help you disrupt that buyer's journey to shorten that cycle from, first contact all the way through to close won business. So really quickly, my last slide here is, as I mentioned on the outset, ABM is no longer a buzzword, and I think Forrester has reinforced that this year by coming out with their wave on ABM platforms. And, all of the technology vendors on this wave, if they don't today, will have AI built into their technology within the next year or two. It's just the way the market is going, and if you don't build in AI, you're going to be left behind. But knowing Forrester's process for developing these waves, they sussed that out with these vendors, which is why they all actually made this wave, is that they're headed there. Some of them are further along than others, but they're all headed there. So, when you're evaluating technologies to help you with your ABM strategy, make sure you understand kind of where they're going with AI, because it's really going to help you get out ahead of your competitors with your marketing approach. So with that, I'm happy to turn it over and open it up for any questions that may have come in during the presentation.
Super. Thank you, Jessica. That was really, really interesting. And so I will encourage the folks that are listening to click on the Q&A little box and feel free to type. Meanwhile, I have a couple of questions I think that might help us just for those that might be just starting this journey of looking at it, so they really don't have any of those, either demand-based or anything else in there. Surely there's more that we need to be doing to prepare ourselves to get to this point. So when I was listening to you talk about the fact that, maybe these folks that are looking at me are looking at someone else, but how does the AI engine even know that somebody else is, that somebody might be looking at me and looking at someone else? Is that something that is other data driven, or is that data that I need to bring to the party?
No, so the engine's out there. Basically, what you need to do is you need to feed in, you can tell them, who are your competitors' websites, right? And the AI engine will go see like, hey, are these target accounts going to these other websites? And it can crawl the internet and understand that activity from those target accounts. And like I said, that's something that you physically couldn't know. There's no way possible that you could figure that out. But the AI engine actually can go discern that information for you, which is really helpful to know. I mean, it's also helpful not just for, kind of on the demand gen side of things, but your existing customers, right? Putting them into the engine and seeing if they're looking at your competitors' websites is also very telling. So also good insights for you to have.
So can that AI engine also tell me, for people that I didn't know might be looking at me, that they're looking at my competitor, but they're not looking at me, and maybe we need to go ask ourselves why?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, and that's kind of when I showed that slide with kind of the, you build your ideal customer profile, and then the AI engine will go out and crawl and figure out who are the next, 150 or 1,000 accounts that, are out there in the market kind of that fit your ideal customer profile, and then it'll rank them and show, are they showing intent or not? It'll say, here's the websites they're going to, and then you can sort by that and go, oh, red flag, right? This account that we want to sell to is all over our closest competitor's website, but not ours. So what are we going to go do to change that?
Very, very curious. We have a question that's coming in. I'll table this other one that will follow that, and we'll go to this one. It's a really, really good question here, that for AI or for machine learning models to be accurate and useful, you need thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of data points. So can AI help with account-based marketing if you don't have enough data, or how much data do we need in order to make sure that we've got valid insights coming to us?
Yeah, so a lot of those data points are going to come from the vendor that you work with. You don't have to have those data points, your vendor will. So for instance, with demand-based, we actually have an advertising bidder that we've built. And so every time we look to go place an ad based on keywords and searches and stuff that are going on, we're bringing that data back into our engine, right? So our engine has all the data you need. We just need to get kind of your inputs to put it into the engine, and then it'll leverage the data we already have to bring back those insights to you. So it's more of what the vendor can bring.
So does that mean that my data is shared with my vendor, or can I say, no, you can't use my data, Mr. Vendor?
No, your first-party data stays your data, right? Always, but the AI engine will layer on the third-party data that it's able to ascertain and acquire.
And do vendors typically look for conflicts of interest and then choose not to serve, or is there really even a problem with conflict of interest?
There's really not, because really, yeah, that web search information is really in the public domain, right? So, you know, and like I said, that's why, you know, you don't bring first-party data into the engine. You layer the third-party data onto the first-party data, so that company's first-party data remains their own. And then there is no conflict of interest that way.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so you can tell me that I'm way out of line by this question, but one of the most difficult things to figure out when you're in a B2B space is exactly who your competitors' customers are. Nobody publishes anything. All sales are under contract. Is typically under NDA. Is AI a way for us to know who's got who in terms of supply chain? And is that legal?
Yeah, I mean, it can help you get a little bit closer, and I think there's tactics to help you kind of identify some of that information, but it's not bulletproof. It's not going to get you all that information. You know, if you're a technology vendor like us, there's already tools out there that will crawl individuals' websites to figure out what other technologies they have. So, you know, from a technology perspective, you know, website technology perspective, that information is already out there and has been being used for years now by marketers to figure out who their competitors, which of their target accounts are using their competitors. You know, but you can with an AI engine also kind of get to some of that information, like, you know, if a company has a login page, right, you can put that into the engine. And typically, customers are going to be logging into a login page, right? So you can say specifically who's going to this login page, and the engine will be able to see which companies are going to the login page. So
that seems really valuable, honestly. I don't know what you guys charge for that, but well, just good to know, right? So you all heard that here, and that's great. So let's see if do we have any more questions coming in? This is fascinating, frankly. You know, I think that there's a flip side to this. I'm waiting for another question to come in. There's a flip side to this, which makes you have to think hard about how you interact on the internet so as not to give away information you otherwise would have thought was totally protected by NDA, right?
Right.
And that last example is very, very interesting. So, yeah, very, very curious. I think I've worked with companies that are very, very paranoid, probably for good reason, about what they know and what they do. And because I don't see the behavior being covered, I just wonder how well that's known, because I would just expect that they would start putting some other things in place to protect that. But that's very interesting.
Well, you know, I mean, there is the new GDPR regulations, which I know that's like a dirty 4-letter word for those of us B2B marketers that are selling over in the EU. You know, but once again, you know, things like website activity is still public domain information. Once you get down to the individual level, though, that's where GDPR takes over and starts to shut some of that information down. Right. You know, but being able to keep it at the account level at least still gives you insights, right? You might not know who the exact individual is behind those searches, behind that kind of stuff, but typically for most organizations, you know the profile of who your buyer is going to be, right? I mean, it's always helpful to just have the straight up like, hey, call Jane at, you know, XYZ company. She's your buyer. Really helpful to have. But you probably knew already that it was going to be Jane or Jane's boss or the person that works for Jane, right? That was going to be your typical buyer. So even if you can't get the exact person, at least understanding information about the company helps you really focus your efforts.
Great. Well, I don't see any more questions coming in, so I'll just ask one more thing. If people are more interested in trying to figure out how this works for them, you're a good contact for them, I assume?
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm just Jessica.Fulis on LinkedIn. On Twitter, I'm at jfulisb2b. And email is just jfulis@demandbase, or, go to demandbase.com and you can actually see some of our technology in action. You'll see personalization on our website. We also leverage chat, which will, we turn on or off based on if somebody's on our target account list or not, and those sorts of things. So you can actually see some of it live and in action. So I encourage you to visit our website as well.
Super. Thank you. Well, thanks so much. We'll close this out. Again, I'll remind folks that if you signed up for it, you can revisit this or you can share it with your friends. And I hope you'll all join us at our next webinar next month. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.